the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Clayton and you're watching Business Story of the Week.
Fantastic. And that is the man himself, Brian Clayton, and he will be our guest for today. And of course, my name is Joshua. I am your host. In every episode, every week, every day, we ask you a question. And the question for today is lawn care the next big frontier for tech innovation? Well, our guest for today is the perfect man to answer that question. Brian Clayton isn't just another CEO. He's a visionary and a groundbreaker. As a mastermind behind GreenPal, an innovative online marketplace dubbed the Uber for lawn care. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, keep note of that. The Uber for lawn care by Entrepreneur Magazine is revolutionizing the way homeowners connect with local lawn care pros. Boasting over 200,000 active users, GreenPal pulses with thousands of transactions daily, a testament to Brian's knack for understanding market needs. And today, Brian's going to share his secret with us. He's going to share his insight, his experience. Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Joshua, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, lawn care, is it the future of innovation for software? Maybe. It's taken a while, but it's like Mark Andreessen said, I think almost 20 years ago, that software is eating the world. And so it's just now getting around to lawn care. And now you can push a button and get somebody to mow your yard with GreenPal.
That is very interesting. It's quite an innovation too, because like Uber for lawn care. Wow, what an idea, right? It's quite groundbreaking too, literally as well. But Brian, here's the thing. I want to know where this all started. Like, what was a young Brian Clayton like? Was he mowing lawns during the summer? What would the young Brian Clayton say to the Brian Clayton of today?
Yeah, it's funny. It did all start with me and a push mower mowing my neighbor's yard, not because I was some kind of natural born entrepreneur. It was because my dad got tired of watching me play Nintendo. And he said, "Hey, get off your butt." I talked to the neighbor. They need somebody to mow their grass. He made me go mow the neighbor's yard. I got paid $20, and I never looked back from there.
Oh,
And,
that's it.
and I
Wow.
just stuck with that lawn mowing business, man. And just, yeah, thank God he made me do it because now here we are, almost 25 years later, and now I'm running GreenPal, which is the nation's largest network of lawn mowing services.
I mean, talk about that. Talk about $20 one time, mowing the lawn for just $20 that one time, and then boom, blowing it up into a business like this, like GreenPal. How talk to us about that? Because I understand also early on that you'd had experience in traditional landscaping as well. But now you've gone into running a tech-driven platform like GreenPal. What was the inspiration behind GreenPal, and what was a pivotal moment where you said like, "Oh, hey, this is something that is needed. It's a gap in the market right now." When did that happen, and when did you decide to just get
Really,
into it?
really good question because I think when you're trying to build a new piece of software, you're trying to bring an innovation to the marketplace. I think authenticity can be a competitive advantage. And for
Mm-hmm.
us, it's kind of the only thing we have going for us. My
Mm-hmm.
first business was a lawn care business. Like I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, I started mowing grass in high school. I stuck with that all through high school, all through college, and stuck
Mm-hmm.
with it for 15 years
Wow.
and built that into a real business. I ended up growing it to
Wow.
around 100 employees, and that company ended up growing to $10 million a year of sales. So it was a pretty large organization, and ultimately
Wow.
it got acquired by a national company. And
Mm-hmm.
running that business, I saw every day that people who needed a basic lawn mowing cut would have trouble finding somebody who was a good fit for them. Because
Mm-hmm.
my business had grown to a point where we no longer did residential lawn. We only did
Right.
commercial stuff like office buildings, apartments, things of that sort. But we would still get 100 people a day calling the office every week saying, hey, will you come mow my grass? And we would say, hey, we don't do that anymore, but here's 4 or 5 numbers. And they would call those
Right.
numbers. And then they'd call us back and say, I called those 5 people, none of them called me back. So I
Oh
saw
no.
that, okay, there's 100 smaller operators out here that want this business. So people that need to get it done, there is
Mhm.
a breakdown in the marketplace. I think a platform to make that all run smoothly. And so I saw
Right.
the problem. I knew that tech could fix it. Now, the thing that I didn't know is I had never built a marketplace. I had never really built a website. I had never built a mobile app. So we had to teach ourselves those things along the way.
Mhm.
That was challenging.
That is fascinating as well. I mean, like you went from a traditional business to like a completely tech run business now, and I don't know when was the last time you also you remember yourself mowing a lawn, but now you're developing apps, Brian. What was that like, by the way? Talk to us about the journey, having to teach yourself in the tech space, and I'm sure our audience and listeners as well who are struggling as well. How do you go from being a traditional business owner with large, huge successes to now teaching yourself something tech related that you probably never even encountered before?
Yeah, it was challenging, and it was challenging for a couple reasons.
Hmm.
I thought that the hard part was going to be, okay, um, I'm going to have to learn how to build software. I'm going to have to learn how to code. My co-founder is the same. He's going to have to go. He went to a software boot camp, and that's
Wow.
going to be really hard. We thought this is going to be hard, but we can do it. But
Hmm.
really, the hard part was inventing something brand new from scratch that never existed before. That was a lot harder than I had ever anticipated because there is
Yeah.
no roadmap, there is no set of things to do. It's basically you trying something, putting it out there, people try it, they give you feedback, and then you fix what's wrong with it. And you do that over and over and over again, and you just kind of inch your way to success to a combination of things that people get value from. And that took a
Hmm.
long time of just trial and error without losing enthusiasm. And this is why you have to have these skill sets in house because you're just going to be building and building and building. You can't outsource these things. You can't
Yeah.
change order your way to success.
Right.
If you've got a traditional business and you want kind of like a website or an ordering system for your traditional business, then maybe you can outsource that. But if you're
Maybe.
inventing the next way of doing things and you're creating a new experience around commerce that does not yet exist, you have
Hmm.
to have that in house. You have to be able to iterate with your own team in order to get
Yeah.
where you're trying to go.
How long did it take you, Brian, with your team setting it all up, creating, studying everything, putting together the app? What was the time frame? What was the window?
Yeah, so the way it went down was 2013 was when
Hmm.
I sold my last company and got bored and had the idea for this next one and told 2 friends about the idea. They said, "Yeah, I'll quit my job and start that with you tomorrow. That sounds awesome. Let's do it."
Wow.
And their commitment made me like I was like, "Okay, yeah, let's do this."
Hmm.
None of us knew how to code. And so I remember this like it was yesterday, even though it was like over 10 years ago. We laid out all of these pieces of paper, big pieces of paper, and we wrote out what we thought the screens would look like on
Okay.
the app. And then we
Yeah.
took all of that to a dev shop and said, "Hey, can you guys build this?" And they said, "Yeah, we can build that." And they said, "Okay, $150,000 in 6 months." And we didn't know any better. We said, "Okay, let's do it." So we pulled our money together and they built it and we launched it, and it was a total failure. I mean, just a total flop. Buggy, it barely worked. People didn't really understand how to use it. Lawn care
Hmm.
companies hated it, and so we thought, man, this sucks. We are so far off the mark, and that was the reckoning of understanding that if we're going to keep doing this, we're going to have to learn how to code. And
Wow.
so at the time we were reading the book, The Lean Startup, and in that book they tell you in 300 pages basically one thing: get out of the building and get people to use whatever it is you've built and get the feedback, and then use that feedback to build the next thing. And so that's what we did.
Okay.
We passed out like 20,000 flyers all over Nashville, Tennessee, and got maybe 200 or 300 people to use the first version
Oh,
that we paid
interesting.
the shop to use. And then that
Okay.
informed us of the million things that were wrong with it. And so then we started uh, learning how to code while rebuilding the whole platform from scratch. And so my co-founder went to a boot camp for back end development, and it took him 9 months in this boot camp. He put $12,000 on his credit card for the boot camp, and then I went to YouTube University and became the world's worst front end developer. Uh, just good enough to where I could hack together views and hack together interfaces. And so I would work on the front end, he would work on the back end. And it took us another year to rebuild the whole thing, and then another year to get pretty good. And then another year of that, just doing everything. And then we made enough money where we could hire our first developer. So it was he and I and another guy. And then we just kept doing that over and over.
I love that. That was literally my next question. But first off, I want to highlight a little bit how much you took it like into your own hands. You like just like lawn mowing, like lawn care, you get your hands dirty. For this time though, in the tech space, you are getting you guys were getting your hands dirty. You were learning it yourself. And I feel like that is the way to start in any kind of business, be it tech, be it digital, be it, physical and manual labor. You have to know your business like the back of your hand before you can start bringing in teams. I feel like the question comes then for our audience and listeners, of course, out there is like, when do you start really scaling? When do you know that it's there? Like, okay, I feel like I know enough. We have a viable product, but now I need other people. What was that particular moment like for you guys when you realized that, like you said, you started bringing in revenue, making income, and then now you could bring in more teams? Was there other indicators for you where it looked like, okay, this is it, we're stable enough, I think we can bring in a team? What was that like?
Yeah, it's kind of a paradox because the advice is, okay, you have to get leverage, you have to delegate, you have to build out a team, or else you'll never get anywhere. And that is true. But the mistake that we made, and the mistake that a lot of founders make, is you delegate too soon. And so it's like you can delegate too soon, and then you can delegate too late. And so if you try to delegate, a Google AdWords campaign, and you've never ran a Google AdWords campaign, good luck. Because you don't know what success looks like. You don't know what good copywriting looks like. You don't know what a good CPA looks like. You have no idea. And so you're just going to delegate, and you're not going to get anywhere. It's got to be in the DNA of what it is you're doing. It's got to be in the DNA of your understanding as a founder. And only then can you delegate from a standpoint of stewardship. So you want to get like the 80-20, just dangerous, good at about 12 different things. So then you can delegate from stewardship. A lot of times founders want to delegate from a standpoint of abjuration, which is like, I don't know how to do this. I don't want to learn how to do it. You figure it out, go do it. And maybe if you're Steve Jobs and you're in Silicon Valley and you've got billions of dollars, maybe that'll work. But if you're a startup trying to hustle something together and you've got $5,000 a month in revenue, you really do have to get your hands dirty, and you have to say, okay, I've ran this Google AdWords campaign, or I've coded up these 20 views. This is what I want you to do. This is how we do it here. This is what we think it should look like. This is how long we think it should take. This is what success looks like. Here's the procedure we want you to follow. You go do it, and then come back to me. And then you can do that over and over again and build an org chart around yourself. But you really can't delegate anything that you don't have that 80-20 acumen in. And every time I've tried to, it's always blown up in my face.
Oh, I love that. I love that advice right now, Brian, because it's so easy as startups, business owners, we just want to get rid of it, right? And of course, there's people who are talking like most business advice you're going to hear. Actually, they're going to say like, I'm really good at finding people. I'm finding them, and they're the ones who figured it out for me. But I feel like the step that's not really told so much is that 80-20 ratio that you're talking about right now. Get 80% of it done, or get it to a point where most of it, how to get it done before you delegate to someone. For our audience and listeners out there who are experiencing that and are struggling with that, how do you maintain that kind of patience though? Like now, okay, I can't figure this out. Like coding, that's impossible. To me, that is to a lot of people, that seems like 80-20, how am I even going to get to 80? Brian, what does it take to keep that up, especially as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and for you who's been at it for a long time? What did you do? What did it take to keep that going?
Yeah, it's like I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and so it's like we get 100 people a week moving here, wanting to be the next big country music singer, and it's kind of like if one of them said, "I have an idea for a song, I just need to go find a musician,"
Mm-hmm.
and you would laugh at them. You would say, you're never going to be a country music star if you can't uh, write your own songs, play the guitar, sing, and perform well. That's table stakes, and then good luck trying to get 100 people to show up at a show. And
Mm-hmm.
so they would say, "But it's my dream to be a country music singer." And, but you don't know how to play the guitar, you can't sing, you've never written a song. Yeah, but I should be able to outsource that. That's my dream. This is what I want to do. And like, well, you better get busy learning how to play the guitar, sing, and write a song.
Right.
Like this is just as asinine. Like if you want to be a tech startup, if you want to be in technology, if you want to build a brand new product that does not exist, you know, you yourself better be damn good at like one of the three things that go into that, whether it be
That's it.
design or some sort of coding or some sort of building. And your
Mm-hmm.
right hand man or man gal should be like filling in the gaps and being what you're not. And the two of
Right.
you are like 1 plus 1 is 3. Um, if not, like it's just you're never going to make it. And the only reason I can say this is because I tried to do it. I
Of
wasted a year
course.
and a half trying to do
Mm-hmm.
everything but learn tech. And then
Mm-hmm.
I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, "You dummy! You want to be a tech founder? You better learn. You better get on YouTube University and watch, 15 hours a day of tutorials and spend the next
Mm-hmm.
5 hours doing the stuff you've learned. Do that over and
Mm-hmm.
over again." So it's like you just have to be relentlessly like in this game to pull this off. And if
Right.
you don't have the desire to do that, then don't do it because it's just too
That's it.
hard.
It's it. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's just not your thing. Maybe you're just interested at it, but
Right.
not enough
Yeah.
to get your hands dirty.
I'm not a musician, and I would never try to become a country music star. That would never like that thought would never enter my brain.
Right.
And the same analogy applies to inventing a brand new technology product and bringing it to the marketplace. It is just
Yeah.
as hard.
And it's almost like reinventing yourself too, right? Because
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think you viewed yourself, you looked at yourself as like a tech startup guy, like getting into
No,
tech. Like now, I mean, you had to reinvent yourself, but you had to be relentless about it. Of course,
absolutely.
GreenPal was dubbed as the Uber for lawn care. I love that, by the way. First off, I want to draw some parallels into this. Of course, we are all familiar with Uber. We are all familiar of its let's call it the ride sharing app, so to speak. When it comes to lawn care, now we get into the app, we look for pros to mow our lawn. I want to draw some parallels in how you maintain the quality work that is being done through your app, and of course, knowing that it's other professionals that are signing up on the app. How do you vet them? How do you make sure that that everything is up to code? What's that like? What's that maintaining that side of the business now that you've put together the app?
Yeah. So once you start learning how to code and learning how to build stuff, then you realize, okay, that was kind of the easy part. This is the
Mm,
hard part: is building a marketplace that balances the needs of buyers and sellers and makes things easier for both of them versus doing it the old way, and
right.
trying to strike a balance between what both sides want because they're not they're at odds with one another. Same
Right.
thing with Uber. Every Uber rider would like to say, "Okay, you wait for me outside for 10 minutes, and I'll be out there when I'm damn well ready." And the driver's like,
Mhm.
"I got to get on and going, and like you need to get your butt out here." And like, so how does Uber strike that balance? Well, GreenPal is no different with lawn care. We have to figure out,
Right.
okay, this is what consumers want. This is what vendors need to run a profitable lawn mowing business, and building the set of tools and building the workflows to get that right took like a decade. But we figured it out just through trial and error. And one of the things we figured out was that consumers don't necessarily want the cheapest price. They want somebody to show up on the day they're supposed to. And when we started, we thought consumers just wanted a cheaper way to get grass cutting. And yeah, price
Right.
does matter. But after we started like hand cranking the first 1,000 transactions, the problem was lawn care operators are busy, they're disorganized,
Yeah.
and they don't show up on the day they're supposed to or show up at all. So the case of the disappearing lawn guy was like what we were built to solve. That was the main pain point for
That's it.
consumers. And
Okay.
so building a system that holds service providers accountable and measures them in such a way that promotes the good ones and demotes and expels the ones
Hmm.
that aren't good
Of
is
course.
what we're set up to do. And so, uh, first off, there's a very minimal vetting process for anybody that wants to for any vendor that wants to try it. But the
Hmm.
real scoring occurs after their first few transactions or auditions, as we call them,
Hmm.
where do they show up on time? Do they get a good star rating? And a big one, do they get booked for a third, fourth, or fifth visit?
That's it.
Because that's a passive indicator.
Hmm.
Not everybody wants to give a 1 star review. I don't. You know,
Hmm. Of course.
if I take a if I go to an Airbnb and it's not up to par,
Mm.
I don't leave them a 1 star review
Still.
because there's no
Hmm.
upside for me.
Yeah,
You know,
precisely.
I'm just not going to do that. So I think that's not a real good system for understanding who's good and bad. But these
Hmm.
passive indicators of did I use the provider for a second, third, and fourth visit? That's a
Hmm.
passive indicator for was that service provider good or not? And we
That's
use
it.
that signal to understand, okay, these are the good providers, these are the ones that aren't so good. And so then when consumers come on the platform, they can quickly get a solid provider without having to go through the hassle of trying 4 or 5 different ones.
That's it. I love how you pointed out like it's not just about star reviews, star ratings, because I mean, a 1 star review, you gotta have to have, I feel like you've had done something horribly, something had
Yeah,
gone terribly wrong for someone to give a 1 star review, right?
totally.
Even if the service was mid or no, not passable, I people still feel reluctant giving that 1 star review, but I love how you're using booking as a indicator for performance because now you know how many bookings has this particular service provider has completed. People keep booking them, then that means it's good. Brian, of course, we're you guys are now up to 200,000 active users, which is just phenomenal. Thousands of transactions daily. Brian, how did it come to this point? I mean, you've already explained a lot of that, but also you've mentioned like building that marketplace was perhaps the hard part. Truly, the easy part was building the app, putting together that marketplace. Of course, you started with the flyers all over, over Nashville, and getting people to use the app early on. But sustaining that and putting the app through a kind of this regular test now to having this type of marketplace, what would be the one factor you think that a tech startup should be doing every day in order to make sure that their app reaches to a point where you guys also have a stable and consistent marketplace?
I think for me, looking back 10 years, starting with 10 people using it, and now over
Mm-hmm.
200,000, close to 300,000 people using it, is not is just work focusing on what level of the game you're on, and just throwing everything you got in that level. So, like going
Mm-hmm.
back to the video game, like a lot of founders worry about Bowser when they're on like level 1 or 2, and
Mm-hmm.
so if you could just focus on the level you're on. So for us, it was like we have 10 people, we need 100. Okay, we got 100,
Yeah.
we need 1,000. We got 1,000, we need 5,000. We got 5,000,
Yeah.
we need 20,000. And just focusing everything you got on getting to the next level and
Mm-hmm.
nothing else um, is like critical. Otherwise, you get sidetracked and you're working on things that don't matter at the stage of the game that you're at. And so that's one thing that rings true. Another thing that's like a through line through all of it was always making it super frictionless for users to tell me personally everywhere we saw. And so in the
Right.
early days, I did all of the user support, and then maybe even
Mm.
through year 5, I did all of it. And then now we have
Wow.
a user support team, but I still do an hour or two a day of in-app chat, 1-800 phone number
Wow.
support, email tickets, because I don't want there to be this gap between what I'm thinking and what users are thinking. And so
I love
closing
that.
that gap is something that you as the founder always need to be really paranoid about. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's something that like a technical thing that's caused me to always be focused on what users want, where they're upset, what we need to be focusing our team on. those types of things. So breaking it down into small goals, not worrying about anything else, and then being relentless about letting people tell you where the baby is ugly and making it
Mhm.
super frictionless to do that is a tactical thing that'll get that is something you need to be doing day one and year 10.
I love this. I love all this insight, Brian. It's truly the way you talk about it really feels like you were truly hands on with it, and you truly talk about in a way that people need how the degree or the level of people being involved. Like if you're the founder and you really want it to be successful, how involved are you into it? And how
Right.
do you continue to stay involved into it? Like you said, you're still doing chat support, but that's because it's your baby. And you said you want to deliver something that gives value to the customers and something that the customers are, like you say, you're meeting their expectations and they're seeing what you are trying to give them, which is quite valuable. And Brian, you weathered through it all. You learned everything. You transformed yourself into a tech startup. Brian, what does the future? A tech guy, by the way. You turned yourself into a tech entrepreneur. Brian, I want to ask this. What does the future look like for GreenPal? If it were a garden, what kind of growth would you say it needs most right now? How are you looking into the future? And you yourself, do you have any other future aspirations as well?
I'm going to keep running this business as long as I'm having fun doing it. I've had some 100-hour weeks running this company, but I really haven't worked a day in 10 years. It's always been what I wanted to do. Running a landscaping business for 15 years changed me into a whole new person, and this company
Wow.
has changed me into a whole new person again. And that
Mhm.
that's a lot of fun. That personal evolution, and this time around, I get to build something that in some way gets to touch the mass market and gets to help small business owners. That's really why we do what we do. Is the guy is Peter in a pickup, Chuck in a truck, Molly in a mower, and these small business operators that grow their business on our tech is why we do what we do. We
I
have
love
around
it.
50,000 of these folks using the platform to run their business. We want to get that into 100, 200,000. So I'm going to
Wow.
keep doing it as long as I'm having fun doing it, and as long as I'm good at it is my
Well,
plans for the future.
well, you're quite good at it. I mean, right now you guys put it up there at the level it is right now, and how you guys started. Man, Brian, you are rocking it. I'm really, really happy where you guys are at right now, and it must feel great. How do you feel about that? Saying like, "Hey, I went from a traditional lawn care. I went from being you lawning, uh, mowing lawns in summer to
Yeah,
being a tech startup entrepreneur. How does that feel?"
life is crazy. It is funny. You know, going from being a mechanic fixing lawnmowers to
Mhm.
a mechanic fixing JavaScript is a weird thing. But that's the cool thing about starting a business of any sort.
Yeah,
You evolve into a whole new person, and I believe it can make life more interesting. And so
yeah,
let that be one of the things that causes you to quit this cubicle job, maybe that you're running or something, and start that business you're thinking about doing, because I think it can lead to a more interesting life and cause you to do things in life that you never would have done otherwise. It certainly has been the
right.
case for me, and come a long way, but it really is like it still is day one, man. We've got a long way to go. There's a lot of lawns out there being mowed that we don't power, so we're going to keep on going.
I love that too because I mean, you get to keep improving, keep reinventing yourself, and it so long as it's fun, and it does sound fun the way you're describing it. That Brian, your website is yourgreenpal.com.
That's right.
Brian, where else can we find you? Where else can we connect with you? You're everywhere. You're on, lawn care. You're just everywhere. People can find it here on the locations up here on the website. They are everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Your green pal, Brian, where else can we find you? Where else can we connect with you?
Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. Just search Brian Clayton LinkedIn, or find me on Instagram, Brian M Clayton. I post a lot
Hmm.
there. Just drop me a DM on either of those places, or just go to greenpal.com or download it in the App Store or Play Store.
Fantastic. I mean, that is the gist of it all. Brian, thank you so much. I've already just sent you connection request on LinkedIn. Let's stay in touch there. To all our audience and listeners out there, make sure to send over Brian a connection request as well, and go find him on the App Store and on the website. Brian, anything else you would love to leave behind the audience? Take us home.
Yeah, one thing that I've had to catch myself, and I tell other folks is, a lot of times you think you waited too long, and you think it's too late, and you think you missed it.
Hmm.
You think you missed the gig economy. You think you missed, I don't know, crypto. Maybe you think you missed AI, or maybe you think you missed something because you
Hmm.
waited too long. And the reality is, it always gets bigger. If you think software is going to be around 100 years from now,
Hmm.
we're in year 20. And so it always gets bigger. There's always more opportunity. You didn't miss it. If you're willing to build something that helps people, that is quality, that people get value from, there's always a future for that. So
I love it.
so so get started, because 5, 10 years from now, you'll be glad you did, and get in the game. Because only when you're in the game building something can you have a shot at winning.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, the website is yourgreenpal.com. The app is, of course, GreenPal, and the man himself, Brian Clayton. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Joshua, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
To all our audience and listeners out there, thank you for watching the episode. We will see you on the next one. Bye bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.